You can learn English easily just by listening closely to a real story, spoken slowly and warmly, the way a good friend would tell it. Don't forget to follow my account, friend. Let's talk like friends. You pay attention to each and every word of me. I am simply a friend, sharing a true story so your English quietly grows without you even trying hard. Stay with me until the very end, because this story hides a quiet ache and a strange kindness that neither woman ever expected at all. My name is Wren Callahan, and I am 30 years old, working as a hospice nurse at a small care center in Charleston, South Carolina. Hospice work means sitting with people during their final days, holding hands that are growing colder, listening to stories nobody else has time for anymore. It is heavy work, quiet work, the kind that stays with you long after you drive home alone through empty, sleeping Charleston streets at night. Last year, I cared for a patient named Eleanor Vance, 83 years old, gentle and stubborn, who loved tulips more than anything else alive. Not roses, she used to tell me, smiling weakly. Tulips. They do not pretend to be anything. They just open honestly and then they fade. I brought her tulips every single week during her final months, small cheap bunches from the grocery store, just to see her tired face light up. Eleanor passed away quietly one rainy Tuesday morning, holding my hand, whispering something about tulips that I never quite managed to fully understand. I grieved her longer than I expected, longer than felt professional, carrying that particular loss home with me on nights I could not explain to anyone. Then, exactly 1 month after she passed, a bouquet of tulips arrived at my apartment door. No card, no note, nothing except the quiet flowers themselves. I assumed immediately and gratefully that Eleanor's family had somehow remembered me, had somehow known how much those small weekly tulips had meant to me. The following Friday, another bouquet arrived, identical tulips, still no note, still no explanation, sitting quietly on my doorstep like some gentle, recurring secret. This continued every single Friday for months, tulips appearing faithfully on my doorstep, and I began building an entire quiet story around them in my mind. I imagined Eleanor's grieving son, a man I had met only briefly at her bedside, quietly thanking me the only way grief allowed him to. I mentioned it once to my coworker, Priya Desai, wondering aloud if maybe she had a secret crush and was sending them anonymously to me. Priya laughed so hard she nearly dropped her coffee. Wren, I do not even like flowers. I would send you tacos, not tulips. I believed her immediately, feeling slightly foolish for even asking, and quietly crossed one more name off the growing list inside my curious head. Weeks passed, and those Friday tulips became something I quietly depended on, a small, strange comfort in an otherwise exhausting, grief-filled kind of life. I started imagining Eleanor's son more seriously, picturing him standing outside some flower shop every single Friday, thinking of his mother, thinking of me. One evening, curiosity finally won, and I walked into Blossom and Stem, the small flower shop 3 blocks from my apartment, ready to simply ask. The owner, an older woman named Carol, checked her records carefully while I stood there nervously explaining the anonymous weekly tulip deliveries to my door. Tulips every Friday. Callahan address, she murmured, scrolling through her old delivery book. Yes, here it is. Standing order. Paid a year in advance. Who is it from? I asked, my heart suddenly pounding harder than I expected over something so small, so seemingly simple as flowers. Carol looked up, frowning slightly at her own paperwork. It says Wren Callahan, but the delivery address listed here is actually 2 streets over. My stomach dropped instantly. 2 streets over? That is not my address at all. There must be some kind of mistake here. Carol apologized profusely, clearly embarrassed, explaining that her newest delivery driver had apparently confused 2 different Wren Callahans, living just streets apart downtown. I stood there in that small flower shop, feeling suddenly deeply foolish, realizing an entire year of quiet comfort had been nothing but an accident. I had built Eleanor's grieving son in my mind, built entire imaginary gratitude, entire imaginary meaning around something that was simply a clerical error. I walked home slower than usual that evening, strangely heartbroken over flowers that were never even meant for me in the very first place. The following Friday, I almost dreaded the doorbell, half expecting the tulips to stop completely now that the mistake had finally been discovered by me. But they arrived anyway, right on schedule. And this time, I decided to do something different, something braver than simply wondering silently by myself. I walked to the correct address, 2 streets over, tulips still in my hands, determined to finally return them to whoever they truly belonged to. A man answered the door, maybe 40 years old, tired eyes, a quiet sadness sitting somewhere behind his otherwise gentle, careful expression toward a stranger. "I think these belong to you," I said, holding out the tulips awkwardly. "There has been some kind of delivery mix-up for an entire year." He stared at the flowers, then at me, confusion slowly crossing his face. "I am sorry. Who exactly are you? I do not understand." "My name is Wren Callahan," I explained. "The florist apparently confused me with another woman by the same name, living somewhere near you." His face went pale, and he gripped the door frame slightly. "There is no other Wren Callahan here. My wife's name was Wren. She passed away." I felt the ground tilt slightly beneath my feet, understanding arriving slowly, painfully, one quiet piece at a time inside my confused, aching chest. His name was Elijah Voss, and his wife, Wren Callahan Voss, had died exactly 1 year and 1 month earlier, after a long, quiet illness. "I ordered a year of tulips for her," he said softly, his voice breaking slightly. "Her favorite flower. I could not stop the order after she died. I told the florist to keep sending them to our house every Friday," he continued, "so it would feel, just for a moment, like she was still here." "The new driver must have confused the addresses," he said quietly, delivering to a different Wren Callahan instead of an empty house that still waited. I stood on his porch, holding tulips meant for a dead woman, understanding suddenly why they had felt so strangely sacred every single Friday. "I am so sorry," I whispered, tears suddenly filling my eyes without warning. "I did not know. I truly did not know any of this. Please," he said gently, "keep them." Truthfully, I think she would have liked knowing they went somewhere warm, somewhere still alive and grateful. We stood there together for a long moment, 2 strangers connected by grief, by tulips, by a mistake that somehow did not feel entirely accidental. I told him about Eleanor then, about her stubborn love of tulips, about the strange comfort I had quietly built around his private, personal grief. "Maybe," he said slowly, almost smiling for the first time, "the flowers found exactly the person who needed them, even if the address was wrong." We started talking more after that first strange evening, first through short visits, then through long phone calls neither of us truly wanted to end. Elijah eventually stopped the standing order, but he still brought tulips himself sometimes, walking the 2 streets over just to see me directly instead. It has been 8 months now since that porch conversation. 8 months of slow, careful friendship, growing quietly between two grieving, cautious, hopeful people. I still think of Eleanor every single time I see tulips. And now I think of Wren Callahan Voss too, a woman I never actually met. Grief, I learned, does not always stay contained inside one single house, one single name, one single Friday delivery meant for only one person. Sometimes it spills over accidentally, finds the wrong address, and somehow still manages to land exactly where quiet comfort was desperately, secretly needed most. I do not know exactly where Elijah and I are heading yet, but I know I no longer dread Fridays the way I once briefly did. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire story today, listening closely like a true friend, quietly learning English right alongside me. I hope you understood today's lesson clearly, every phrase and every quiet feeling inside this story, because that means your English is truly growing stronger.